The red sun rose over the alien training base on planet Korax. The ground shook as massive alien soldiers marched across the dirt field. Some had blue scales, some had 4 arms, others wore heavy armor. All of them were strong, fast, and built for war. In the middle of these towering warriors stood one small figure, a human. His name was Jack Rayner. He looked tiny compared to the others. His shoulders were narrow, his skin soft. Where the aliens roared, Jack only breathed quietly. Where? They lifted boulders. He struggled to carry his bag. The aliens laughed. "Look at the Earth boy," one shouted, a huge green brute with tusks. "He can't even lift a rifle." "Send him home before he dies in training," yelled another, covered in spikes. They mocked him every day. When they ran, he was last. When they trained with weapons, he dropped them. When they ate, he sat alone. But Jack never answered back. He just watched. He listened. He studied. Behind his silence, something else was growing. Patience. 5 weeks earlier, Jack had been chosen for the United Species Training Program, where soldiers from many planets trained together for war against the Varn, a deadly alien race spreading across the galaxy. Earth was new to the galaxy's war. Most alien generals saw humans as weak, soft, and slow. Jack's acceptance into the program was a test, a joke to many. "You'll be laughed at," his commander told him before he left Earth. "I'm not going to be liked," Jack replied. "I'm going to learn." Back on Korax base, the alien commander of Squad 9, a hard-shelled warrior named Commander Brack, stood tall in front of the recruits. "You are here to become soldiers," he barked. "You are not equals. Only the strong survive. Weakness will die." His black eyes scanned the row of soldiers. When he reached Jack, he stopped. "You are the human," Brack growled. "Yes, sir. You will die." Jack did not blink. "Then I'll die learning, sir." Brack said nothing, but his silence was heavy. Training begins. Every day was worse than the one before. Obstacle courses. Jack was slower. Hand-to-hand. Combat. Jack was thrown every time. Weapon drills. Jack's hands shook. The alien rifles were too big. The recoil knocked him down. Strength tests. Jack failed everyone. The squad began to ignore him. He wasn't worth their time. One night, Jack sat in the corner of the barracks. He looked at the bruises on his arms. His muscles ached. He had barely eaten all day. He stared at his data pad. A file played again and again. A map of the training zone, troop movements, the timing of drills. He wasn't getting stronger, but he could get smarter. The secret observations. Jack started watching the others closely. He saw how the 4-armed alien named Krulo always swung too wide in combat. He noticed that CERN, a heavy blue alien, always got tired after 20 minutes of drills. He recorded their habits, weak spots, and patterns. Every night while others slept, Jack studied. Every morning, he trained longer before anyone woke. Still, the jokes continued. "Human, bring me my boots." "Jack, maybe today you can lift a baby rifle." "Careful, the wind might blow him away." Jack smiled. But inside, he was building something. The surprise ambush. One afternoon, the squad was sent into the jungle zone for a standard patrol exercise. Commander Brack gave orders. "This is not a real mission. You will move as a team. No mistakes." They began the mission, but something was wrong. There were too many tracks in the dirt. The trees were too quiet. Jack felt it first. He whispered, "This isn't a drill." Brack ignored him. Then it happened. Roar came from the trees. Explosions lit up the sky. Dozens of training drones, powerful machines designed for surprise attacks, charged at the squad. It wasn't a test. It was a trap. The squad panicked. Blasts hit from every side. Smoke and confusion spread. The team scattered, shouting over each other. Brack shouted, "Form up! Hold your ground!" But no one listened, except Jack. Jack takes control. Jack didn't run. He dropped low behind a rock and pulled out his map. He remembered the layout of the zone, the hill to the east, the fallen tree near the stream, the narrow path through the rocks. He moved fast. He found Krulo, the four-armed alien trapped under debris. "Get away, human!" Krulo shouted. Jack grabbed a fallen beam and used a pulley system he built with wire. It took minutes, but he freed Krulo. Then he shouted, "Follow me." Krulo hesitated, but Jack didn't wait. He sprinted toward the old trail, one only. He had noticed during his night studies. Soon others followed. He guided them through cover, avoiding the drones. He set a trap using fallen power cells, timing the explosion perfectly. 3 drones went down. He found Cern lying injured and carried him over his shoulder. The squad made it back to the safe zone, alive. When they reached the base, Commander Brack stood waiting, his face unreadable. "The reaction report," Brack said coldly. No one spoke. Then Krulo stepped forward. "It was the human," he said. Brack raised an eyebrow. "The what?" "The human led us back." Jack stood straight. "I studied the terrain. I saw signs of ambush. I used old drone movement. Patterns from the files. I didn't fight strong, I fought smart." Brack stepped forward. He looked down at Jack. "You are still weak," he said. Jack nodded. "Yes, sir." Brack leaned closer. "But weakness that learns is dangerous." Later, that night in the mess hall, Jack sat alone. But this time, someone joined him. Krulo sat across from him, arms crossed. "You saved my life, Earthman." Jack shrugged. "Just didn't want to be the only one left." Krulo grinned. "Next time, try not to make us look bad." Others glanced at him now, not with laughter but with thought. He was still small, still slower. But something had changed. Respect, once impossible, had taken root. End scene. The locker room. Whisper later in the shadows of the weapon room. 2 alien officers spoke. That human should have been dead. He should never have survived that ambush. Earth must have trained him differently. Or maybe, one said, humans are not what we thought. The training ground was quiet. No one laughed at Jack Rayner anymore. Not out loud, at least. He still looked small, still looked weak. But now, the alien soldiers of Squad 9 watched him differently. Some with confusion, some with respect, some with quiet fear. He had led them through a deadly ambush, not with power, but with his mind. Commander Brack had not praised him, but he had not mocked him either. That was enough. The assignment, 2 weeks passed. Jack trained harder than before. He still came last in weight tests, still fell during the assault runs, but now, no one called him useless. One morning, Commander Brack stepped into the yard with a datapad. "New orders," he barked. "We are being sent to Outpost V-17, a mining station under threat." Krulo grunted. "V-17, that place is falling apart." "It is," Brack said. "That's why we're going. To defend it." Another alien, the sharp-tongued sniper Zer, growled, "We're not peacekeepers. Why send us?" Brack looked at Jack, just for a second. Then he said, "Command believes this. Squad needs field testing. Journey to V-17. The transport ship roared through space. Inside, Squad 9 prepared for the mission, weapons loaded, armor checked, eyes sharp. Except Jack. He sat alone, reading the station's layout on his screen. Krulo walked over. "No gun?" Jack shook his head. "Too heavy, and I wouldn't hit anything." Krulo laughed, but not unkindly. "Then what are you bringing?" Jack turned the screen. It showed tunnels, emergency routes, vent systems. "I'm bringing a plan." Arrival at the outpost V-17 was worse than they expected. Rusty walls, broken lights, nervous miners. The station had been attacked 3 times in 1 month by unknown raiders, maybe Van scouts. The aliens took positions near the entrance and key corridors. Jack wandered the outpost instead. He walked every hallway, marked every vent, measured door width, mapped escape paths, talked to miners, logged power lines. "Why are you doing this?" asked one of the engineers. Jack smiled. "So we're not surprised again." The night before the attack. The squad sat in silence, eating. Zur looked at Jack. "So, human, what's the big plan when the shooting starts?" Jack replied calmly, "You'll be too busy shooting. I'll keep the lights on." They laughed, but softly. No one said it was a bad idea. Brack finally asked, "What do you see coming?" Jack spoke clearly, like a soldier, not a student. "They've tested the outpost 3 times. They know where the weak spots are. They'll come through the east corridor. It's unguarded but connects straight to the core." Brack nodded. "And if you're wrong?" Jack shrugged. "Then I'll die." The attack came just after midnight. Blasters lit the halls. Screams echoed. The enemy wasn't just raiders. They were cyber wolves, machines with sharp legs and glowing red eyes. They cut through walls. Squad 9 responded fast. Brack shouted orders. Zur sniped from above. Krulo smashed 2 machines with a metal pole. And... Jack disappeared. Jack's plan in action deep in the station. Jack moved through narrow maintenance shafts. He turned off hallway lights, guiding enemies into ambush zones. He hacked a power relay to explode when stepped on. He opened and closed doors to trap enemies inside storage rooms. From a hidden terminal, he watched Squad 9's movements. He used old mining bots to block side tunnels. At one point, a machine turned toward a group of miners. Jack yelled into the mic, "Zur, Section C." A shot rang out. The enemy dropped. "How did you know that?" Zur asked over comms. "I was watching," Jack said. The turning point, more enemies came. Squad 9 started falling back. Jack had one last move. He activated the emergency gravity well, a mining device that pulled all metal objects into one chamber. Enemies were dragged screaming through the hallways, their metal parts sparking. Krulo roared, "He's killing them with mining tools." Zur, breathing hard, muttered, "I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I like the human." The aftermath, when the fighting stopped, the halls were covered in sparks and broken machines. Squad 9 stood, bruised but alive. Commander. Brack walked over to Jack, who was sitting by a power console, his hands burned from hacking wires. Brack stared down at him. "You are still the weakest in strength." Jack looked up. "Yes, sir." "But today," Brack said, "you fought like a general." Word spreads back at base. Something strange happened. Other squads started asking questions. Who's this human from Squad 9? Did he really stop the attack with no weapon? Is it true he fought using power lines? Jack became a name, not a joke, a story. Even Brack gave him a nickname, Tactician Rainer. Final scene, shadows in the command room far away. Inside a high-level Galactic command room, 2 officers watched the footage of V-17. The human was on screen, moving through, vents guiding soldiers, hacking systems. "This is impressive," one alien general said. "The human mind adapts faster than we thought." The other nodded. "We may have to rethink Earth's place in this war." Opening scene. The Armory Challenge. The air inside the Corax base armory was hot and heavy. Metal walls hummed with power. Lights flickered above racks of dangerous weapons, plasma rifles, gravity hammers, thermal blades. But at the center of the room stood something different, something huge. It was a black and gold plasma cannon, nearly 2 meters long, glowing faintly with alien runes. Its name, X-9000 Heavy Fusion Launcher. "No human can lift that," said Krulo, folding his forearms. "You need gravity anchors just to carry it." Zur snorted. I saw a Tharn soldier break his leg trying. The squad gathered around the cannon, laughing, betting, showing off. Then Jack Rayner walked in. He was just coming to return a scanner. He stopped, looked at the cannon, and the room went quiet. The Der Krulo grinned. "Hey, Captain Tactics, want to try the big toy?" Zur laughed. "Maybe he can hack it instead of lift it." Jack looked at the weapon. His eyes scanned the runes, the control pad, the coil ports. Then he shrugged. "Sure. Why not?" The aliens burst into laughter. "Someone get the med kit ready. Hope your spine doesn't pop. Maybe we should call the janitor in advance." Jack stepped forward. He didn't even try to lift it first. He knelt down. He looked closely at the interface module near the grip, a box with 4 glowing circles. Then he did something strange. He pressed the 3rd circle, waited 2 seconds, and then pressed Circle 1. A click sounded. The weapon powered on. Everyone froze. The impossible happens lights on the cannon turned blue. Soft hum. Power building. Jack gripped the cannon with both hands. To everyone's shock, it hovered slightly, adjusting its gravity field. He didn't lift it with strength. He activated its auto-assist mode, something the aliens didn't know existed. The D. Cannon's AI system blinked. User ID accepted. Terran DNA signature confirmed. "Welcome, Jack Rayner." Gasps filled the room. Krulo whispered, That thing never even responded to anyone." Zur stepped back. He unlocked it. "Commander." Brack arrives. The noise drew attention. A door hissed open. Commander Brack entered. He saw Jack standing calmly with the activated cannon. Brack walked forward slowly. "You touched the X-9000, he said. Jack nodded. It touched back. Brack stared. That weapon was recovered from an old battlefield. Lost tech from the Varn Wars. Our best engineers couldn't get it to work. You just turned it on?" "I read the interface," Jack said simply. "It's based on a pattern recognition input. Earth has similar systems in deep-sea tech." Brack narrowed his eyes. "And how do you know about deep-sea tech?" Jack said nothing. Flashback. Jack's past. That night, Jack sat alone on his bunk. In his hand he held a small metal badge, faded, almost erased. It had the words, Project Obsidian, Earth Black Ops Division. Before joining the United Species program, Jack had been part of a secret human training unit. His job, study alien weapons, learn them, reverse engineer them, especially those Earth didn't officially know existed. The X-9000 was one of them. He had seen blueprints long ago, incomplete, classified. Now he was standing in front of the real thing, and it had chosen him, whispers across the base. The next morning, the news had spread, not just in Squad 9, across the whole base. The human activated a ghost weapon. It spoke to him. It recognized him. Some were afraid. Some were angry. "He shouldn't have touched it," said a soldier from Squad 5. "That cannon belongs in storage," growled another. But others began to wonder, was this human just smart, or something more? Brack's test 2 days later, Commander Brack called Jack to the training yard. The whole squad was there. Even other units had gathered to watch. Brack pointed at a mock battlefield filled with drone enemies. "You will enter with the X-9000, alone." Jack looked up. "What's the mission?" Brack replied, "Survive." Jack nodded once, walked over to the cannon. He placed his hand on it. The lights turned blue again, and then he walked into the arena. The human with the heavy gun. The drones moved fast. Steel limbs, laser rifles. Jack stayed low, aimed the cannon. He whispered, "Engage auto-spread mode. Pulse fire, manual override on burst." The cannon responded in a soft voice only he could hear. "Confirmed. Combat mode engaged." He pulled the trigger. Boom. A wave of plasma fire knocked out 5 drones instantly. He shifted, fired again, this time in pulse shots, hitting precise targets, not with brute force but guided calculations. The aliens watching were silent. He wasn't strong, he was deadly, survival complete. 10 minutes later, smoke filled the yard. The drones were down. Jack stood, chest rising and falling, the cannon still glowing faintly. He walked out, not a scratch on him. The aliens stared. Some nodded in respect. Zur muttered, "I've never seen anything like that." Brack stepped forward. He looked Jack in the eye. Then, for the first time, he said something surprising. "You are not just a soldier," Brack said. Jack raised an eyebrow. "Then what am I?" Brack replied. "You are a weapon." Ending scene. Hidden observers. On a dark moon far away, 2 strange figures sat around a glowing orb. Inside the orb, footage played, Jack holding the X-9000. One figure hissed, "The human has unlocked the cannon." The other's voice was cold. "We buried that tech for a reason. They were not supposed to access it. Then the war has truly begun." At Korak's base, everything had changed. Jack Rayner, the smallest, slowest, and quietest soldier, had become something else. The alien soldiers no longer mocked him. They watched him, some with respect, others with fear. Especially after the day he picked up the X-9000 heavy plasma cannon, a weapon no one else could even turn on. It had responded to him. It had spoken to him. But no one understood how. Not even Commander Brack. So, Brack did something unusual. He ordered an investigation. Behind closed doors, inside a quiet room deep inside the command tower, 2 high-ranking officers stared at a glowing screen. It showed Jack's training footage, mission reports, medical scans, DNA profiles. The data flickered in silence. "This doesn't make sense," said General Vore, a hard-skinned alien with glowing red eyes. "His strength is low. His reflexes are below average, but his success rate is 98%. The other, a calm, silver-skinned being, replied, "Look at this." He zoomed in on a hidden file attached to Jack's Earth record. "Project Obsidian," he read aloud. "Classified level black." Vore frowned. "What is that?" The silver alien's voice dropped. "Something Earth never told us." Flashback. Earth. Years ago, a younger Jack stood inside a cold steel room on Earth. He was just 17. In front of him stood 3 human officers, all in dark suits. No names, no ranks, just silence. One officer spoke. "You are being transferred." "Rayner," Jack asked. "To where?" "To a program that doesn't exist." That was the beginning of Project Obsidian. A secret team created to study alien technology recovered during early encounters. Before Earth officially joined the Galactic Council, they had found crashed ships, old weapons, hidden machines, obsidians. Job, study, learn, understand, and prepare. Back on Korak's base, Jack stood in the armory, cleaning the X-9000. He spoke to it in a quiet whisper. "You're not just a gun, are you?" The cannon hummed softly like it understood. Suddenly the door opened. Commander Brack walked in. Alone. "Human," he said. Jack stood straight. "Sir." Brack held up a tablet. "This file came from Earth Command. It says you were trained before joining the Academy." Jack said nothing. Brack narrowed his eyes. "Why hide it?" Jack finally replied. "Because I wasn't trained to be a soldier." Brack's voice was calm, but sharp. "Then what were you trained for?" Jack looked him in the eye. "To understand the enemy before they understand us." Mission alert. Derelict ship. Detected. Just then, the base alarm rang. A signal had been found, drifting in space near the outer moons. A dead ship. No ID, no power, no life signs. But one thing was strange. The signal it gave off was ancient Varney. Code, the same enemy species now attacking border worlds. Brack looked at Jack. You're coming with us. Boarding the ship, a small squad, Jack, Brack, Zur, and 2 engineers, flew to the derelict vessel. The ship was massive, black metal, covered in claw marks and melted armor. Inside it was cold and dark. Lights flickered. The air smelled burnt. Scanners show no movement, said Zur. Dead as space. But Jack wasn't looking at movement. He was looking at the walls. Alien symbols, old ones, lined the corridors. Symbols Jack had seen before, back on Earth, in the Obsidian archives. This isn't just any Varn ship, Jack said. This is a relic. Jack finds the core. They reached the ship's command center. A broken console sparked near a glowing orb. The data core. No one could activate it. Zur tried. Brake tried. The engineers failed. Then Jack stepped forward. He placed his hand on a smooth panel and whispered a code. Deltacron 7. Engage. The core lit up. A hologram appeared. A map of ancient Varn space. And something more. A blinking point. Not a ship, a weapon. Buried on a dead world. The AI voice spoke. Last protocol. Weapon transfer incomplete. Awaiting authorized. User. Human genetic signature confirmed. The room went silent. Brack stared. Why does this ancient tech recognize you? Jack's voice was quiet. Because someone trained me to speak their language. Return to base. Questions. Begin. Back at Korak's base, rumors exploded. He woke up a dead ship. That tech followed his command. Why does Varn code work for a human? Even the other commanders were worried. Some began to question Earth's loyalty. Zur cornered Jack in the hall. What are you not telling us? Jack answered carefully. Earth is new to this war, but we're not blind. We've seen the signs, the old battles, the ruins. My people believed one day the Varn would come again, and I was trained for that day. Zur's eyes narrowed. So you're a spy? Jack looked him straight in the eye. No, I'm a survivor, and I want you to survive too. Commander Brack's private test late one night. Brack called Jack to a private room. On the table was a device, a small cube glowing with red light. This is Varn tech, Brack said. Recovered long ago. No one has opened it. He slid it to Jack. Open it. Jack sat down, studied the edges. He didn't force it. He didn't break it. He understood it. Then he touched 3 points, rotated the cube, and pressed gently on a hidden mark. The cube unfolded. Inside, a hologram of the Varn war strategy. Brack whispered, No one has done that in 100 years. Jack replied, You've been fighting their ships. I've been reading their minds. Ending scene. An old message from Earth later that night. Jack sat in his quarters. A message arrived, encrypted. From Earth. He opened it. The message was short. Jack, we know what you found. You were right to trust your instincts, but listen carefully. They're coming for you now. The weapon isn't just ancient, it's theirs. And it wants you to finish what they started. Jack leaned back, eyes wide. Because in the background of the message, he heard something impossible, the X-9000 cannon humming in response. The alarm echoed through the cold halls of Korak's base. Red lights flashed, doors locked, weapons systems came online. On the main screen, a message pulsed in harsh, jagged letters. Varn ships detected, enemy landing imminent, Commander Brack growled. How many ships? The reply came cold and hard. Too many. A fleet of Varn assault cruisers had broken through the outer patrol lines and were heading straight for Supply Station 9. A fragile outpost, lightly guarded, critical for food, weapons, and fuel. If it fell, hundreds of soldiers would starve. It was the perfect target. Volunteers or sacrifice at the war table, commanders shouted. We don't have enough troops. Evacuate. Let the station go. But Brack stood firm. No. We hold the line. Then he looked at Jack Rayner. The human stood quietly in the corner, watching the map, calculating routes and enemy speed. Bragg pointed. You know the enemy's moves. You've studied their patterns. Could you hold the station? Jack answered calmly. With the right people, traps, and 2 hours. Yes. Bragg asked. What if you don't have 2 hours? Jack didn't blink. Then I hold them off myself. Arrival at Station 9. Squad 9 boarded a transport ship and flew toward Station 9. The skies were dark. The station looked like a skeleton, steel bones barely holding together. Inside, scared engineers worked fast to pack supplies. There were only 20 security bots and a few low-power cannons. Jack walked the halls, fast. He traced doors, vents, corridors. He counted power lines. Measured turret range. Zur followed him. What are you doing? Setting up a maze, Jack replied. Krulo stepped over a broken pipe. A maze? Jack looked at both of them. We can't match them in strength, but we can make them waste time, make them chase ghosts and bleed numbers before they reach the core. Preparing the defense. With help from the engineers, Jack rewired power nodes to trigger shock traps. He programmed the bots to move like guards even when empty. He locked 3 doors, but left one open, a trap path. And in the center of the station, near the command room, he placed a single plasma cannon, the X-9000, humming faintly. Then he waited. The first wave, it came fast. Dozens of Varn creatures dropped from the sky, breaking into the station through the roof and walls. The first group charged down the open corridor, exactly as Jack expected. Boom! A power core exploded under their feet. Zap! 2 shock mines lit up the next hallway. Redirecting them, Jack whispered. The Varn split into 2 groups. One chased after a decoy bot. The other tried a vent route and got trapped behind sealed doors with no exit. Zur watched the chaos on the screens. He's playing chess while they're playing war. The human. Between the lines as the battle raged, Jack stayed calm. He moved from terminal to terminal, updating routes, closing doors behind Varn units, guiding the few defenders to safe spots. He never fired a weapon. He didn't need to. His mind was the weapon. But then, something changed. A new signal appeared on the radar. A heavy Varn destroyer, bigger than the others. It began dropping elite units, armored creatures, immune to shock, immune to fire, and they were heading for the core, straight for Jack. Holding, the line Zur and Krulo fought side by side, holding the hallway. I thought we were just buying time, Krulo shouted. We are, Zur replied. Then why does it feel like we're the last line of defense? Because they were. The other defenders had fallen back. Jack stood in the command room, hands shaking slightly, sweat on his brow. The walls shook. The elite Varn units were here, and he was alone. The fight of his life. Jack stepped forward. The X-9000 cannon hovered beside him. Ready. Power level, he asked. The weapon's AI replied, 67%. Recommend limited burst mode. He nodded. The door blasted open. 3 Varn units charged in, tall, armored, moving like machines. Jack aimed. Boom, boom. The first blast knocked 2 back, but the third kept coming. Jack rolled, slammed a side panel, dropping the floor beneath it. The creature fell into the old maintenance pit. Another one appeared behind him, too fast, too close. Jack pulled a short blade from his belt. A backup. He slashed, weakly, but hit the neck joint. It gave him 2 seconds. Enough to aim. Boom. Gone. The final push. Zur and Krulo made it to Jack. You're insane, Zur said, covering him. Jack replied, I've been called worse. More Varn came. Jack knelt beside the X-9000. Last shot, the AI warned. He whispered, make it count. He aimed at the ceiling, fired. The blast hit the support beams, the roof collapsed, crushing the final wave. Smoke, silence, and then Cheers. The station was still standing because of one human. After the battle hours later, the Galactic Command reviewed the mission. 20 defenders, no reinforcements, hundreds of Varn, and yet Station 9 survived. How? They asked. The answer came from Brack. One human, one cannon, one brain. Ending scene. The Varn message back in the wreckage of the station. A Varn data crystal was found. Jack decoded it. It held a message in ancient Varn tongue. The human was not our target. We came to retrieve the weapon, but now we want the one who controls it. He is not a mistake. He is a threat. Jack read it twice and smiled. After the battle at Station 9, soldiers across the galaxy talked about only one thing. A human with a cannon no one else could use. A boy from Earth who stopped a Varn assault. A soldier who fought smarter than machines. Back at Korak's base, engineers took the X-9000 cannon to a lab for study. They wanted to understand why it worked for Jack Rayner and no one else. But something strange happened. As soon as Jack left the room, the weapon shut down. Dead. Silent. No lights. No hum. No power. They brought Jack back. As soon as he touched it, whum, the cannon lit up, glowing blue again. Rebirth on the jungle. World Jack had awakened in a strange place. Green skies, towering trees, floating rocks. Time felt slower. The Centauri artifacts, the X-9000 cannon, the staff, and the broken beacon core had survived with him. But something had changed. The beacon core now whispered constantly. Centauri protocols unlocked. Initiating restoration sequence. Jack watched as machines rose from the jungle ground, old, forgotten, and half alive. The planet wasn't just wild. It was a Centauri seed world, and it was waking up. The first of the army, the machines began to repair themselves. Tall figures made of silver light and hard steel. They looked like statues, but they moved, and they recognized Jack. Bearer confirmed. Orders? Jack blinked. You follow me? They bowed their heads. You carry the light of judgment. You are the last voice. Jack looked at the dozens of figures, then at the sky. A new war was coming. He would not face it alone. A new threat back. In the known galaxy, chaos was rising again. The Varn had returned, angrier than ever. Their losses at the Crimson Gate made them more cruel, more desperate. They now searched for a final Centauri weapon. The Star Engine, an ancient energy source, said to power entire planets. If they found it first, no world would be safe. And without Jack, there was no one to stop them. Until one day, as fleets gathered for battle, a rift opened in the sky. From it came a ship made of glowing stone and steel, followed by 50 silent warriors. At the front stood Jack Rayner. Shock. Across the galaxy, Zur stared at the screen. It can't be. Krulo grinned wide. Oh, he's back. Commander Brack choked on his drink. How? Across every system, Varncomms went silent. The human lives? Impossible. No, not impossible, terrifying. The last war begins. Jack didn't wait. He landed at Nova Citadel, where the Star Engine was buried deep underground. The Varn had already begun digging. Jack and his new army moved like lightning. Centauri warriors, silent, perfect, unstoppable. Jack held the cannon in one hand, the staff in the other. The ground shook under their steps. The Varn fired. It did not matter. The battle at Nova Citadel lasers lit the sky. The Star Engine pulsed beneath the earth. Jack pushed, forward through smoke and flame. He wasn't just faster. He saw the future in flashes. The beacon core now connected to time itself. He moved seconds before danger arrived. Zur and Krulo joined from orbit, dropping in with fresh troops. Brack followed with tanks and bombers. 1,000 Varn soldiers stood between Jack and the Star Engine, and he walked through them like fire through dry grass. Final showdown. The Varn warlord in the deepest chamber. The Varn warlord Zorkun waited. He stood 10 feet tall, made of muscle and hate. "You should have stayed dead, human," he growled. Jack didn't flinch. "You should have stayed out of our galaxy." Zorkun charged. The ground cracked. Cannon and staff met claw and hammer. The room became a storm. Jack was bruised, bleeding, but he would not fall. He remembered Earth. He remembered the mocking. He remembered being the weak one. And he smiled, because now he was the strongest in the room. Victory. Zorkun fell. The Star Engine was secured. The Varn army collapsed without its leader. Across the galaxy, peace began to return. Worlds that once feared humans now welcomed them. Jack didn't ask for thanks. He didn't want medals. He simply said, "Next time, believe in the ones you doubt." The ending, a new age, begins. Months later, a statue was built. Not of Jack alone, but of his crew, his Centauri warriors, and all who stood beside him. The words below read, "He stood alone, then returned with many." He was human, and that was enough. Zur became an ambassador. Krulo trained soldiers on Earth. Brack wrote books about what he saw. And Jack, he vanished once more. Some say he returned to the jungle world. Others say he's watching, waiting, ready. Because when the next shadow comes, humanity will not be mocked. They will be feared.